I got another sketchbook ready, and not just any sketchbook. This is the sketchbook that I worked on during my first year of art school. Technically second, it's a long story, but I'm currently studying illustration and animation, and a lot of the sketches for that class were in here. Some other things that are in here are figuary and some OC stuff and just a bunch of doodles, and it's a really fun sketchbook, and I'm super excited to show you guys every single page. So before we get started, this is a very simple, plain notebook sketchbook from Hema. On the cover, I only have this very tiny Hatsune Miku sticker that I got from a friend. It's so cute. It's kind of beat up. I forgot how that happened, but I kept scraping it against something. But it's holding up. It's holding up pretty well. Let's get started. Okay, so before we go to the first page, I actually want to take you guys to the back. So as you can see, this is the very last page, and I have this portrait here, which is sort of a self-portrait, and this is actually the portrait that I sketched over for my profile picture, so you might recognize it from there. And I really like how this turned out, so I just wanted to show you guys that, because the beginning, the very first page, is sort of in the same style, but it's really ugly. I really fumbled. So I just wanted to share this first. Are you guys ready? We're gonna like fly past the first page because I do not like it, like I said. So we have another self-portrait, and as you can see, it just says welcome, sketchbook 28. I started this on the 9th of September. And I finished it on the 3rd of January. 1st of March? Wait, now I'm confused. I started it the 11th of September 2025, and I finished it on the 1st of March. So that's, I think, around half a year. And in the beginning, we actually have these sketches that I did a lot later. They are a bunch of Witch Hat's Atelier sketches because I got the art book. And I love Kamoe Shirahama's art so much, so I really just had to do some studies of them. And then the start of this school year was actually when I first got started on animation. So I went through most of the animated survival kit from Richard Williams, and I took some notes. So there will be a lot of notes in the sketchbook because I had to study so much. I had so much to catch up on because I was already a year behind. So I dove in there. There's also a bunch of plannings in there. I'll skip over those. This is the first thing that we did. Was the entire period revolved around a book, and you had to make like a book cover, a trailer, and a whole bunch of things for that book. And the book I got was The Brightstorm Chronicles from Vashti Hardy. So the first quarter of this book is going to be about that book. So I first did some sketches about some things happening in the book. Very quickly, the book is this, I think it's this middle school grade book about these two twins, and they have to, it's been a while. They are going on an expedition to the North Pole or the South Pole, I forgot, one of the two, to kind of find out the truth about their dad who died and just be the first one to reach the very, very most northern point. I think that was about it. So here we have them. And because the book was a novel, we kind of had to design our own characters. So I did a bunch of that, and there are just some sketches on possible book covers. We had to pick a theme, and my theme was like heritage. So I worked on that. Then we have some research, some more thumbnails. It's gonna be lots of thumbnails. Honestly, art school is just doing lots of thumbnails. And for me, it also means lots of lists because I cannot keep an overview without a list for every single thing. So this is more for the book cover, I believe. No, it wasn't. We had to make 3 illustrations about the book, following one of the themes, one of the central themes. And my central theme that I chose was family for this book. And then we had to work out some scenes that were prominent in the book. I wrote this down. This was a really annoying exercise where we had to like illustrate our journey. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. This was really fun. So this was my first ever real life drawing sessions. We got this model and they were really nice, and then we would just sit around them and draw them for I think around 2 hours. We were kind of free to choose how much time we spend on each pose, except that they would obviously change poses every now and then. So I'm a pretty quick artist, especially when it comes to figure drawing, so I ended up just doing the same pose like several times. Same with this, I kind of did like 3.5 times. And then we moved on to perspective drawing. So this was really funny. We all stood on top of tables that were just like centered around the model in the center. Wow. And then we had this top view, and then we drew with the sketchbooks in our hands, which were really fun. I really like how this turned out. Oh, I forgot about this. One of my friends had this really cool spread in their sketchbook with all of their favorite characters, and they were like, you should do it too. And I was like, you know what, I should, because it looked really, really cool. And I wrote down some of my favorite characters, but then I never did anything with it. And we have some Hatsune Miku sketches. I was really, really into my Hatsune Miku fixation at this point, so you will see her come by a lot. These were made with acrylic markers, very fun. And next up we have some more character exploration from the book, as well as some thumbnails for the comic, the one-page comic that we had to do. I really like these. It's just a hawk. The character was just a hawk, but I never draw hawks, so had to put some practice into that. This is another one of the characters. I really like how this one turned out. I think I got her vibe right. And then we have some more Hatsune Miku sketches. It would either be working on the story on the book, or I would be doodling Hatsune Miku. I really like this one. She looks so cute. I love that. This place is kind of empty. We're just gonna quickly move through it. Another planning, we'll skip that. And then some notes about the animated survival kits, we'll also skip that. And then these are two more Witch Hat Atelier studies. Just look how cute they are. Just look how cute they are. Hidemichi down there. So cute. And more planning, and then I read Understanding Comics from Scott McCloud. I knew next to nothing about making comics, so this book really, really helped me. If you want to get into making comics, or you're just wondering about how comics are set up, or how we perceive comics honestly, I would really recommend this book. It is entirely written as a comic, so that's really, really cool because it's about comics. And I made lots of notes. And this is from a video about analyzing Hergé's storytelling, the one who illustrated and made up Tencent. And then some more videos, more understanding comics, lots of that. And then this is more about the one-page comic we had to do. Some notes, some layout sketches. And this is more Witch Hat Atelier. After almost finishing the book, I just went in and filled all the empty spaces with Witch Hat Atelier sketches, as you can see, very fun. This was exploration for the book trailer that we had to make. We had to make like this 30-second book trailer where we would kind of invite people or entice people to read this story, which was really hard. I really struggled with it, but it was a great exercise to practice my animation, practice my animatic skills, and just my storytelling skills, because for me personally, my storytelling skills were very, very lacking. So I needed a lot of practice on that, and because of that, it was also very hard for me. This is another scene of the book that I sketched out about this guy drowning in quicksand. These are some really empty sketches of their dad, the twins' dad. How to draw men? Yes, I still am significantly better at drawing women than men. More notes about the comic. I'll show it on the screen at some point. This is some more exploration sketches for the story and the world building and everything. As you can see, it's mostly just sketching and just figuring things out. And then we had another life drawing session, and this time we actually drew each other. I don't remember why I drew my friend bald, but we have someone who's bald. And this was once again practicing perspective. So one of us sat on a chair on a table and we sat on the ground and the other way around. So these were all looking up. Really like this one. That one's fun. I don't know why I still drew them bald. And then we have a couple more. I also really like this one. That one's fun. And this one. This one's actually my favorite from the bunch. I like them. I drew them not bald. I really struggle with drawing upwards angles. Downwards, I don't struggle with it as much. But it is always really good fun practice. There's actually more. There's my other friend once again. This one kind of from the side downwards. And then we had another class assignment where you had to write out or like key moments of our study or our life or something. We're always tasked with some sort of assignment that nobody wants to do, and especially this day I did not want to do it. So instead of doing the assignments, I doodled a whole bunch of women. Really fun though. There was also a stink bug, and I really liked that. That was kind of the highlights. And we were like, is that a stink bug? And I was like, that's a stink bug. And then he started stinking, so Yeah, it really was a stink bug. Oh, this was still the same class, maybe. We had to pick something that we really hated, and then someone else would get that and make a presentation about it, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. But I was on the verge of a meltdown this very class, and I did not enjoy it, so I ended up drawing him. I don't know if he's in here. And this is kind of what I felt like. I was just like, get me out of here. On the verge of a breakdown. And this is more story exploration for the book. So we got a bunch of bead boards, but I gave up very, very quickly. But the sketches are kind of cute. And next up, I think this is all planning for the trailer. So we've got some more character sketches. And this is another planning for the very end. We always have to make this portfolio that shows our developments and everything. And that's always a lot of work. But then I was done and then I went to sleep. Because if you want to see my finished trailer, I do have it up on my channel. You can check it out. Looking back, it's not very great. I have learned so much in the past year that I can only see some mistakes. But I worked very hard on it, so I still think it's kind of fun. This is where I got started on researching websites because I had to, once again. One other thing that our art school really exaggerates is that you need to be professional and you need to put yourself out there and have a portfolio. This was something else entirely. I wanted to like alter these bands. I kind of did this, but not really. Oh, and this was actually from my laptop. No, my tablet. I had to take my tablet to school sometimes, but I do not want my tablet to get damaged. So I made a little bag where it's protected. And this is the next semester. And this was all about journalism and newspapers, and I was a little bit excited because that was once again something I had never done before and I knew I would learn a lot. But this whole semester taught me that I do not like making art with societal problems because I'm already thinking about those enough, and art is more of an escape for me where I want to tell fun stories and draw pretty characters and not talk about the economic crisis or anything like that. But we didn't really have a choice. The first assignment was making 3 illustrations for a newspaper, and we all just got assigned an article, and the article I got was about animals being able to talk, or the language of animals. So I ended up making 3 illustrations, one with a chimpanzee, some cows. Oh, I drew this cow singing, and it was basically Hatsune Miku. And then a bee. The bees were dancing, I believe. This one, look how cool this is. This was drawn by my friend. I still think it's so cool. Every time, and then I stuck this next to it. Or maybe that was already there. This was on a banana, and I was like, yeah, I'm taking that. And then for one of my other classes, we had to start researching something. We were honestly free to do whatever as long as we were interested in it. And I think my research for this period was continuing Blender. We also had some 3D classes where we did Blender and things. Here are my dancing bees. So I wrote some potentials to research. And then our next assignment was making an infographic for a theoretical newspaper. And we first had to gather data. So this is kind of a list of things that I could possibly gather data for. And then we had another live drawing session. And this time it was hands, but it wasn't just any hands. We had to kind of like give personality or storytelling to the hands. It was really funny. We started class with there was just this bundle of tangerines, and my teacher was like, okay, you get a tangerine, everyone take a tangerine. And we were just like holding it. It was like, okay, what do we do with this? And then we had to kind of like give our hands personality to that tangerine. So here it was, careful, just like carefully picking it up. Being fearful, so I kind of laboobified it. I don't want to talk about that. This one was like loving or something, so it made it a little hard. Put it on there, I don't know. And then we had to draw more hands. I forgot what the exact assignment was for this, but I hatched kind of these 2 hands. And then I drew this, and then my teacher was like, no, you need, because I drew this, or I think I remember the assignment. We had to draw the same hands in like using different techniques or something. So this one was kind of hatched. This one with normal line drawing, maybe that was a sketch. And then the composition sketches. And then my teacher was like, no, you have to put it on a single page so that when people flip through your sketchbook, they don't get distracted by all these other sketches around it. So I did this, and then it was really empty, so I added some lines, and I think it's so ugly, and I don't like it. So I continued doing what I always do, is fill up just the entire space, because no potential clients are looking through my sketchbook, and when I do archive my sketchbook, I clean everything up, so like why would I waste the paper? Yeah, this was definitely one line, I think. This is just blobs, and then only hatching. The hands all look really weird. I do realize they all look very weird, because even the reference pic, it was really awkward. Like this hand was in a really awkward position that already looked weird in the reference picture. Just so like copying it was gonna look weird regardless. So I did my best. And then this was so fun. The class was really, really boring. It was about different types of graphic journalism or something. But I had my sketchbook on my lap and I started sketching. And I didn't stop. I really like this horse that says "How Hungry," and I made it a friend of mine, a classmate. We got this Sonic plushie that was attached to the digiboard, so he was always kind of watching. This was Felix. I have this shirt with Felix on it, and I drew him upside down, looking down at him. This was a metaphor. I think it was about metaphors. And my teacher was like, "Oh, all journalists are sharks," or something. I drew that, honestly. That's actually really cute. And then these are all some kind of like shape drawings. I actually ended up digitalizing some of these, and they are so cute. Oh, and here, I don't think these are the only sketches I have before my animation class. We had to make something using those first illustration sets that we made, those 3. So I took my monkey, and then we had to animate it with an object, and they had to change expressions. Some more notes. And then this is for my infographic when we actually started working on it. I came up with this really tiny, this was fun though, short sidetrack. I think I have a picture of this. I made a tiny keychain plushie of my friend's D&D character of our campaign from many, many years ago. But yeah, my infographic, I decided to research, I guess, what color the jackets were of people at the station. So I did that. Are these really the only sketches I have in here? I think I sketched most of it digitally. This is what I ended up with. I drew these little guys, these little yellow silly guys, and they were just like my 1%. So that was really fun. Also the data that I collected looked really fun. I don't know what this class was about, but this was the only thing we could think of the entire class. These are my little guys again. I don't know why I drew that. I think that's Elvin from Elvin and the Chipmunks from memory. And we have Professor Layton. Oh, because for our 3D animation class, we had to pick a soundbite that was like 2 seconds, and I picked this sound from Professor Layton because I just played through Professor Layton and Pandora's Box. And then for our next assignment, we had to make a portrait of someone relevant in the media. I picked Avril Lavigne, not because she was relevant, but because I was hyper fixated on her at the time. I really like this one. This is kind of sort of what my final ended up being. I drew this, I freehanded this with some highlighters, and then I messed up the eyes, so I redrew them with a darker color, and because of that, she has kind of like double eyes, and it's pretty cool. And I wanted to try making this portrait in Riso for the first time, so I had to learn how to set all of that up. Just in case I don't have any more sketches, this is what it ended up looking like after printing. I did make the entire sketch, the entire illustration digitally, just because that would be way easier for me to separate the colors for printing Riso. And then this is that assignment that I was talking about where we had to take a soundbite, and the soundbite I took was from Luke Triton. So I just drew him because I think he's cute. I first drew him from memory and I was like, wow. So then I did pick a reference. This is what it ended up looking like, my first 3D animated character animation ever.
Volgens mij heb ik het verknald.
It was kind of a struggle because I didn't have my automatic keyframing on, and I kept moving around, so my keyframes, my poses kept being deleted, so I had to start over like at least 4 times. I think my Blender crashed at least twice as well, so it was kind of a mess. 3D animation is not it for me. We have a whole bunch of More doodles here. This was during another class that was kind of boring. This is me throwing up. This is for the animation assignment that I mentioned earlier, where we had to animate one of our previously drawn characters with an object and then have them change expressions. Looking back at this animation, it was one of the very first frame-by-frame animations that I made, and looking back, I have improved so much over this past year. But I still think it's funny. When I was making it, every time I played it, I was like, yeah, that's funny. That's actually really funny. And then for our next assignment, we had to make a comic about this article. Once again, just an article that was assigned to us, and I got this one about people living in really bad conditions, really dirty houses, and then this man came and cleans them, and I made this comic. I don't like it. I don't like how it's in our ways. And then for our next animation assignment, we had to take the character that we made a portrait of. For me, that was Avril Lavigne. And then we had to practice lip syncing, so they had to say something. They had to say the same thing twice, but the assignment was kind of confusing to all of us. I ended up making like 13 seconds. I went above and aboard for like every assignment.
What is it that you like to do most? I like to rock out. You like to rock out. I like to rock out.
This was more sketches during class, once again about journalism or something, but I drew Sonic, Tails, and then Shadow from memory, and you can just see the progression of how well I know their designs, which I think is really funny. We have these tiny fish, really cute. And then this was fun. This was for the comic about living in like extreme conditions. And then these were all studies I did at the train station, and they were all one-line studies of people I saw around. And there's more on the next page. These were some notes about my positioning and my portfolio and whatever. And look at these, aren't they fun? I actually ended up combining all of them into a big spread. These are really fun. And then these, I drew these in the train for sure. I freehanded them for sure. They're train. I freehanded them for sure. They're kind of bad. I do like this pig though, and these cats are really cute. I think I ended up digitalizing this chicken as well. And this one as well, because it looks familiar. We have yet another storyboard for the animation with the monkey, because I kept changing my storyboard. Planning for my holiday was, I think it was Christmas holiday. Yeah, because it was my birthday. And then we have these two L sketches from Death Note. Isn't he cute? I think this was right before I started working. What's with the sun? Right before I started working on my Death Note animatic on Saigo no Toki. Oh, and that was it. That was my holiday. Okay, and then school started again, and we had another figure drawing class, and this one was so fun because it was this elderly man, and he was such a treasure, man. So we first did some line drawings. These were kind of rough, 5 minutes, and then we had to work with contrast and light and shadow. So we had to take this big brush and then just only draw the shadows and kind of have the silhouettes in there. This one I really like. It's a little harder to see, but you can see like the man is sitting there and then he casts this shadow on the ground. And I think this one is so cool. And then this one is the last one I think I did at that session. I have a bunch of them. I also did a bunch of them on black paper, sketching with white, which was so much harder than drawing black on white. It really messed up my brain, the first couple ones I did, but I also got some pretty good results with those. So this was one of the last ones I did. The problem was that we were in a very dark room because we had to have really harsh shadows on our model. And I didn't have any lights. The only lights I had while I drew this was like coming from the top right. And every time I would place my hand down, I would not be able to see anything. So that was funny. And then these were for the animation assignment with the portrait we did. So I did some expression studies from Avril Lavigne. I really liked just like her vibe, just like the teenage vibe. This was another portrait of the old man in black and white. And then these on the right are some portraits. I think I doodled these during class as well. I definitely doodled these with the fountain pen. Probably freehanded them. Looking at them, they're kind of rough. But I always enjoy freehanding these. were definitely free-handed as well. I like this guy. Can barely see him. I like this guy. And then we have a couple more portraits and Hatsune Miku. And then I think my pen ran out of ink. And these are some more sketches. I believe I also drew these during a very boring class. And then I also drew these during a boring class. This was the sprite guy that I used for my 3D animation. And then on the right we have more sketches. And this, I think it was the end. No, it can't be. I think this was when Christmas break started. Because I had my birthday and I had a underwater creature themed birthday. So I had to make up this outfit for myself and I wanted to embroider and just sew a bunch of things together. I ended up being really, really exhausted and couldn't do much of it, but I still did alter these pens, which was fun. And then I drew myself for my birthday. And then this must be after Christmas break. We continued with the centerfold, which is kind of the statement piece of the newspaper we were doing. So we had to choose a subject that we were very passionate about, or rather, one of my teachers said we had to pick a subject that just like innately angered us. So I thought about misogyny. And that was a mistake because I was so angry and just so frustrated that I just got mad every time I worked on it. But I ended up doing something really cool. Yeah, here's my sketch for it. I ended up making it in fabric. So this was my sketch and then I kind of like stitched together the fabric. I don't know what all of these notes are. Something about a comic. I think that these were notes about my teacher didn't really like my comic. I didn't really like my comic either, so it's fine. And then this is about the infographic, I think. Oh, I think this is about the final assignment. Why is it such a mess? What is even happening here? We had to make, using all of the artworks we made in a group of 4, we had to make like a newspaper. I do actually have it here. There, this one, the cover was made by my friend. And then I'll show you the spreads I made. They're not very good. I don't really like that. This was one of the spreads I made. This is not fitting on camera. It's really big. These were using the one-line drawings that I did. It was something about connection. And then this is another spread I made using my figure studies from the old man and my friends as well. So some of them are mine. These 3 are mine. These are the ones I mentioned that were black and white. Really cool how those turned out. And then the ones, wow, this is falling apart. And then these ones, this one I made, and then these are all made by my friend as well. So that was kind of like the final assignment. Look how cool this is. It's so pretty. So here I stuck in some of the expressions drawings that I did for, once again, the animation. I hope that the sun is not too much in the way. It's also getting pretty hot. What's Western Europe without a heat wave every other day? And then we had our final animation for the animation class, which we had to work with really strong exaggeration, but I kind of did that for this one already, even though it was the assignment at this point. But you know, I went all out, so I kind of did that already, and because of that, I was kind of free to do what I wanted for the third one. And what I ended up doing, still going above and beyond, I decided to hand embroider an animation. Why did I do that, you ask? I don't know, but it turned out really, really cute, and my hands hurt by the end of it, but I really enjoyed it. I also made just like a normal animation because I was not about to sketch in embroidery fabric. And then I think that's it. And here is my animation, some notes. And then I think summer break started. Not summer break. What am I even saying? We didn't have a break. This isn't even the end. But okay, what we have here is a whole bunch of Promised Neverland sketches because I started rereading the Promised Neverland. One of my favorite manga ever. I love it so much. And Demi Posca is one of my favorite, if not my favorite artist ever. So I did some studies of her art. And for this one, I used this like really long graphite pencil and I felt like a real artist. And these were just done using a mechanical pencil if I look at them. And then we have some studies of Glen Keane. I got the Tangled art book for my birthday. And Glen Keane was very central in Rapunzel's design. So I did some studies of that. They're kind of rough. And then these are some I think these are some of the very, very first sketches that I did of this OC story that I'm working on, which you will also see more of in the end. and then some fairies. And then it was February. And you know what February means? It means Figuary, which, if you don't know, Figuary is a monthly challenge in February where we draw figure drawings every day. And if you for some reason don't know, figure drawings are one of the best ways, if not the best way, to learn how to draw the human body. So I make an effort to do it. I wouldn't say every year. I think this was my 3rd year doing Figuary. I did manage to finish it, which I'm very proud of. And these are some of the first drawings that I did. So these were all using one of those pencil energels, and these are 1 minute, these are 2 minutes. Most of the time I did write it on there how long it was, and these were 15 seconds, 30 seconds, very, very quick. I'm really bad at doing really quick ones because I just want to draw the body. I'm really bad at just getting the gesture down. We have some 2 minutes, and then most of the time it started with like 5 or 6 2-minute drawings because I followed the Croquis Cafe Figuary, so they provided all of the references and the timing. So I didn't have to think of much myself, and then we often ended with... So I didn't do that in real life. It's always better to draw figure drawings from real life, but that's not always an option. So these were all drawn... Well, they were videos, so that's already a little bit better than photographs, but still. A 5-minute sketch study. And then we have a whole bunch of Death Notes. I was still really into the Death Note musical at this point. I listened to it every day. So we have a whole bunch of studies from the manga, I believe. At least the ones on the right are. And I really like these because I use, once again, one of those really long graphite pencils, and those just really help with flow. Just make it really nice. And then these are some 1-minute graphite studies. Like this. This is what my pencil ended up looking like. It was really sharp. I felt like a true artist. We have a 5-minute one. And then this is the very first page. I will not get too much into this story, but over the summer I've been working on developing the plots and the world building and the characters and everything for this story about 2 fairies that I made up. And these were some of the very first explorational sketches that I did. So we have my main character, Penula, and then the queen. Her design is going to change a lot. These were all drawn during class. It was the next semester, and this was the worst semester that I've ever had in school. It was about the housing crisis. Of all the things in the world, the housing crisis. That is not my passion. I dislike this period so much. So I didn't even draw a whole lot until at the very end when we rushed this animation. But yeah, we had some sketches. We had just like really boring classes. So me and my drawing friends, we would just like grab our sketchbook and just draw. And then these are some more figure drawings. I did day 3. Day 3, man, I'm a beast. Okay, day 3. And then this is my other main character named Theo, but I won't get too much into it. And then we have the monarch, some explorational sketches, and then more figure drawings. So the rest of this book, all of this, yeah, we got so many figure drawings. I do think figure drawings are fun to look at. I think they're fun to do to some extent. At some point you get really done with them, but it's just fun. And one thing that I also really like about figure drawings is that you can just like see your improvements, and that's really great. I love improving my art. I love getting better. I just have this innate drive to get better, and figure drawings really help with that. So this was one of the very few things that I drew for that semester. We had to go out and then we had to draw from observation. We were in a group of like 4 or 5, and we had to look around. We had to observe, and we weren't allowed to talk. And I'm bad at that. I cannot keep my mouth shut, so this was kind of hard. And at some point I found this dead bird. And when I found him, I started smelling him. And I couldn't not smell him anymore. And then I had to shut up about it for 10 more minutes. And then when the 20 minutes were finally over, I was like, guys, there's this dead bird 1 meter away from us, please. More figure drawings. Day 5. Some 1-minute ones, some 2-minute ones, and then that one's 5 minutes in graphite. Some more figure drawings. This I think was when I tested out some of my old pens. I have a whole bunch of just like water-based markers that are just so old. Some of them don't work anymore, so I just went through them, see which ones still work, which ones didn't work anymore, and I kind of like this guy. I think the colors are really cool. More figure drawings. Oh, I should say about those. Here I wanted to test out my alcohol markers, but I didn't get very far. I did not get very far. And then this was about a comic I did. I don't want to talk about that. We have Coco, so cute. This was actually the thumbnail for the first page and then the last page. Almost done the sketchbook, hell yeah. I do like this Coco drawing, it's very cute. And then we have more figure drawings and then more character sketches for my story. And then more character sketches for my story that were also just kind of figure drawings. I do like this one though. Their designs have changed a bit from this, but not that much actually. Here they are again. I like this one. This is Tum Tum. He's a bird. A blackbird. Day 8! Figure drawings, day 8! How many figure drawings did I do? That's insane. These were fun. I like how I did the face, even though it's really simple. I often don't spend much time on the face with a figure drawing because it's kind of about the figure. These were some sketches I did during class. I drew some of my classmates, two of my friends. Not much to say about those. I freehanded them, so no sketch, so that's always kind of hard. And then the ones on the right, I think I went to Pinterest. I definitely did not draw this without a reference, but I did draw it without a sketch. More figure drawings. More figure drawings. And this is from this comic that I got for my birthday from Reed Paulson. And it's a really cute comic about this garlic girl and this carrot person. And the stylization is so cute, so I just wanted to do some character design studies from that. So these are not my designs. I just directly copied them. But they're very cute. And then we have more figure drawings. I remember drawing this person and I did not like the way they were behaving. I feel like it was a script block or something. We have some studies of my boots. I got these really cute tiny leather boots that honestly I just got them because they reminded me of the Promised Neverlands, and now I can sort of do a cosplay for that, so that's fun. But yeah, I got these boots and I'm really, really bad at drawing boots and shoes, so I did some studies of that from observation and I rendered it. And then we have some more freehanded sketches of flowers. I definitely used Pinterest for these. I think I freehanded them as well with my fountain pen. Very fun. And then guess what? More figure drawings, day 11. We are almost halfway. Not really. It was basically a spread a day. So yeah, you can see 1 minute, and then 2 minutes, and then 30 seconds. Ooh, oh, forgot about this. I don't think I ever showed these. I also freehanded these with this really thick brush pen, and then on this A3 paper, just like really big. And I really like how this one turned out, so that's why I stuck it in here. And then they got the one and only, whatever, that's in there. Oh, my camera, I think, I've never seen this notification before, but I think my camera is getting too heated. It has a little temperature warning. I'm gonna give my camera a little break. Okay, we're back. I know that was only an instant for you, but okay, this is another one that I freehanded with one of those really cool brushes. Let's continue. I think I'm gonna wrap it up pretty quickly, this ending. We'll just fly over the figure drawings because that is what most of this is. This one was close. So it's day 15. We're barely halfway. Okay, this I'm gonna talk about. This was my initial storyboard for the Saigo no Toki animatic that I did, which was so much fun. Like I briefly mentioned, I was hyper fixated on the Japanese version of the Death Note musical because it's so good. It has no right to be so good. I listen to it every day for almost half a year. I'm actually going to see the Death Note musical live in 2 weeks in London. So it is the English version. I'm a bigger fan of the Japanese version, but I love it. So yeah, Saigo no Toki is one of my favorite songs from the musical. So I wanted to make an animatic on that, and I did, and it's up on my channel. There are spoilers, both for the manga, the anime, and the musical, but already, like I said, already looking back at it, there are so many things that I can do better, but I still put a lot of time in it and I'm still proud of it. This is more figure drawings, more figure drawings, more figure drawings. Let's see, we're almost at the end. More figure drawings, more figure drawings. Oh yes, lovely, lovely. At some point I wanted to get all of the figure drawings in here, so I kind of had to calculate because I was almost at the very end and I was running out. So there are just maybe it's only figure drawings. Day 24, some longer ones. Day 25, day 26, like I said, just kind of a spread each day. Day 27, and I have most of the times written next to it. They're all done in graphic pencil, as you can see. Yeah, this was the end, so it actually didn't end up fitting. I have this one, 2-minute one, and then a 5-minute one. There's a couple more under here, and then I think that's it. And then it says bye, and I have this self-portrait that I already talked about. And that's the entire sketchbook. So this took me, I think it took me half the year. Like I said, it was mostly my school sketchbook, but I also always really like having an A4 sketchbook just for studies. This time it was February, so there were a lot of figure drawing studies. But I also just enjoyed drawing other studies. Let's see. But yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed coming along with this sketchbook. I hope that you liked getting some insight on my, whoa, oh that's so bright. I hope that you like getting some insight on my art school and my assignments, and that it maybe helped you in a bit. If you want to get better at illustration or storytelling or anything, I would highly recommend making some book covers, making some comic pages, some animations, all very good practice. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to put in the hours or you will not get there. So I'm also really excited to say that I have almost already finished my next sketchbook. And like I said, I will be traveling to London in 2 weeks, and maybe I'll make an artist vlog about that. I'm not entirely sure. But for now, I hope that you enjoyed coming along. If you had your sketchbook and drew along, please tell me what you drew. You know what I'm wondering? I wonder what is your favorite sketchbook size, because this one is A4 and that is pretty big. I think my favorite is A5, but like I said, I really like having an A4 or a bigger sketchbook just for study so that I have a lot of room to draw. But I'm wondering what your favorite size is, so be sure to let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, I would be very grateful if you would let me know. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!